Welcome to Talkback Radio Network, the home of the Iron Microphone, with your hosts, Dr. Lawrence Gelman and Rabbi Stephen Rosenberg.
Good morning. This is Rabbi Stephen Rosenberg along with Dr. Lawrence Gelman. Welcome to Talkback Radio, the Talkback Radio Network, home of the Iron Microphone. You have not heard a show like this before. This is a show that is going to inform you and educate you in ways that you have never heard, but you need to. And today, later on in the program, we'll be speaking with Dr. Bill Donahue, who is the president of the Catholic League for Religious and Civil Rights, talking about what the Obama administration is doing to the Catholic Church. Mainly, is it at war with the Catholic Church with respect to taking away its First Amendment rights? We'll be talking about that in a bit. First of all, welcome to the program, Dr. Gelman.
Good morning. Let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Lawrence Gelman. I'm a practicing anesthesiologist and chief executive officer of a 500-bed hospital that I helped to found 8 years ago. I do this program because no one else does it. No one else can. There's a great deal of misinformation that's in the media today. Most of what you learn in public school and through the media, through the propaganda arms of the government, is either incorrect or outright untruths, and that's across various different topics. We will discuss what is the truth based upon scientific rationale, and not through the hysteria that is often heard throughout the mass media. I like to consider myself someone not preaching to the choir, but teaching the choir how to sing. In other words, there are too many people on our side, and our side is the libertarian side of this country, which believes in individual liberty, freedom, and independence. Too many on our side, even so-called pundits such as Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, and Rush Limbaugh, really do not have an in-depth understanding of what it is or what it means to be a libertarian. And so we are here to teach the choir how to sing so that those who are on our side, those who do believe in the principles of the founding of the nation, those who do believe in the Declaration of Independence and the principles found within it, those who believe along those lines will have the means to refute the hysteria and the opinionated, baseless arguments used by the other side, because you cannot go into battle unarmed, and too many who profess to be on our side are really unarmed. We are going to cover many different topics. We are going to discuss the Constitution. Since I am not a lawyer, I am perfectly qualified to be an expert in the Constitution because I am not bound by any precedent. We will talk about mythology that is spread throughout our society, such as the hoax of global warming, the hoax of Medicare and Medicaid, the hoax of Social Security, and pretty much the hoax of what our government is compared to what it is supposed to do. I will show you how our rights have been stripped from us by the government that was put into place for no other reason than to protect those rights. Now let me give you a little taste of what we're talking about. There's a lot of terminology out there which we accept and take for granted without even thinking about it. The very word freedom, if you ask somebody what is freedom, what does freedom mean in the American sense? Freedom is not the right to do whatever you want. Too many in this country think that the word freedom means I can do whatever I want. That is not at all the case. Freedom means the right to regulate your own life. But the important word there is regulate. The distinction between freedom and slavery is who does the regulation of life. If I regulate my own life then I am free. If I have my life regulated by others, then I am a slave. And in this country, apparently, freedom to too many Americans means the ability to get a subsidy from the government. The word right. Very few people understand what the word right means. Right, and it's very hard to say what a right is. Now, the Declaration of Independence says that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But there's nothing in there about a right to health care. There's nothing in there about a right to many things, to housing, for example. Why? Because rights are held equally by all. We all have equal right to life. But we do not have a right to health care or a right to housing or a right to food, because that is a product or a service. And a product has to be created by somebody through their efforts, through their energy. Healthcare has to be provided by somebody through their efforts and energy. And so therefore, if I have a right to health care, that means I am required to receive health care. And in order for me to receive health care in that manner requires the enslavement of someone else to me. If I, under that definition, a right is something that is owed to someone. That is not a right. If I have taken from me my service forcibly or my wherewithal forcibly in order to fund or to service someone else, what has happened to my rights? I have a right to bear arms, as is stated in the Second Amendment of the Constitution. My right to bear arms does not confer a responsibility on anyone else to provide me with a weapon. If I want to have a weapon, I need to purchase it myself. I do not have the right to force someone else to pay or for my weapon or to give me a weapon. And so those are two clear examples of words that are heard very, very often in our society, pronounced willy-nilly through the media, the system of public education, and our politicians, in which the people talking about those terms haven't the slightest idea of what they're talking about. But what even concerns me more is that those who are supposedly on our side haven't got the slightest idea of what they're talking about either. And so this program exists to educate the individual as to what is the truth. This is not my day job. I don't earn a living from this and do not seek to do so. Therefore, I am beholden to no one. It doesn't matter to me if we have sponsors or not. It doesn't matter to me if we get paid or not. It's irrelevant. We are here to educate the population, and so therefore I cannot be cowed by any particular group, and I cannot not be held hostage to any commercial sponsor. And in that way, you can be assured, the listener, that what you're going to hear is exactly what I believe and feel. The other thing is, I take a great deal of effort and take a great deal of time to make sure that everything that I say is verifiable and true, that can be fact-checked by anyone at any time they wish to do so, and that I make a great effort to be as accurate as possible and to only put down what can be proven, and in using that in my arguments to reach the point that I am asserting.
I think when you hear what you're saying, Doctor, is the fact that everyone else on the air has sponsors to pay or has someone, whether it's ratings or whatever. That's not what we're about. What we're about is trying to promote the truth. And before Dr. Donahue comes on the air, I just want to get your take on this whole issue, since you're CEO of a hospital, on what the Obama administration wants to do to the Catholic Church. I'd like to hear your point of view before we get Dr. Donahue from the Catholic League on. Is Do you see this as attack on the Catholic Church or attack on the First Amendment by the Obama administration?
Well, it's both, so we need to segregate the topics. There is the Obama administration and much of the government. It's not just Obama. There's many on the other side as well, on the other party that support his viewpoint. They are attacking the Catholic Church, but they have an ulterior motivation. The Catholic Church stands against many programs which the government support. For example, the government supports birth control and abortion. The Catholic Church stands against that. The government promotes homosexual teaching in schools. The Catholic Church is against that. The reason the government attacks the Catholic Church is because the Catholic Church stands in the way of the government in the government's attempt to enslave the people. And therefore, they use all kinds of arguments to attack the Catholic Church, but those arguments are specious and usually fallacious, but the ulterior motivation is to undermine the strength and to cow the Catholic Church. On the other issue, as far as First Amendment rights, the very first right in the very first Bill of Rights is the freedom of religious expression. The legislature shall not create any laws pertaining to the establishment of a religion, nor prohibit the free exercise thereof. Even before the mentioning of the freedom of speech is the freedom of religious expression. And clearly, therefore, our founding fathers believed the very great importance of religious expression in our civil society, and that a government and a country could not function without a basis in religious morality and freedom of religious expression. And so, without any question whatsoever, what the government is doing is trying to eliminate the freedom of religious expression. But there's a reason for that, and it's nothing to do with a belief in God or not a belief in God. The church and religious entities are viewed by government as a competitor. The government wishes to be viewed upon as the great purveyor of privileges and everything else. Therefore, the government wants to be looked upon as the ultimate purveyor of truth, as the ultimate source of information, as who the population needs to bow before. The church gets in the way of that because the church provides sanctuary for the individual apart from the government. The church provides shelter for the individual apart from the government. The government hates the church because the government looks at the church as a competitor, because the government wants to be God. The government wants to be your family, which is why the government hates the family, which is why the government promotes abortion and euthanasia, which is why the government promotes welfare. So it's very important to understand the reasons behind government actions. It's not that those in government are philosophically believe in God or don't believe in God. That is not the issue at all. The government attacks the church, particularly the institution of the Catholic Church, because it views the church and religious entities as competitors for the top rung in a society. Government wants to be the top rung. Government wants to be the ultimate authority. Government is competing with religion as to which entity really represents God. Our government is like most governments, is populated by those who believe in the divine right, of kings, and they consider themselves kings with the power of life and death, and that is the real issue at hand.
1-800. It's really fascinating to a certain extent. I'm going to give you the phone number in a second. 1-800-962-1160. 1-800-962-1160 is our talkback number. And we'll be having Dr. William Donahue on in a moment, president of the Catholic League. It's interesting that this debate's happening because there are people who are chiming in who are completely against where the Obama administration stands, who are supportive of abortion rights, but are saying that the Obama administration is on the wrong side of this issue, that they are coming squarely down against the First Amendment of the Constitution.
I really don't believe that. I think I don't know where you got that. I am sure that the vast majority of those who believe in abortion are certainly on the side of this mandate enforcing all insurance entities or all providers of insurance to supply devices for birth control. The next step, of course, will be the requirement of all healthcare providers to provide abortions.
Well, the head of the Episcopal Church in the United States, which differs in the Catholic's view of abortion, came out in support of the Catholic Church today, which is pretty amazing. And so I guess the question is, and we'll get back to, would you say, though, is this an attack on abortion rights? Would you say this is an attack?
There's no such thing as abortion rights.
Excuse me, that's the wrong word. Would you say this is an attack on the Catholic Church's right to exercise its religious doctrine, or would you say this is an attack on purely the First Amendment? Or is it you
No,
said
it's absolutely an attack on the church. I already explained that.
Right.
It's an attack on the church because the church is an obstacle to the government's attempt to enslave the American people. That is why they're attacking the church. That is why the Barack Obama fascist administration has given exemptions to certain entities. So it is attacked directly against the Catholic Church.
When we come back, we'll be speaking with the president of the Catholic League, Dr. William Donahue. Rabbi Stephen Rosenberg, Dr. Lawrence Gelman on Talkback.
You are listening to the Talkback Radio Network.
Dr. Lawrence Gelman is a South Texas-based physician and hospital administrator. His mission is to empower Americans with knowledge that will help change the direction of our country. Dr. Gelman has produced a series of DVDs with the facts on myriad political, social, and economic issues. At this time, he is so passionate about our country and the state of our government that he's declared a moratorium on any costs associated with his DVDs. He'll even pay the postage. Visit ironmicrophone.com and click on the store link. Choose from many outstanding DVDs, including The Hoax, Global Warming, A Convenient Lie, Holocaust, Pro-Choice, The Myth of Roe vs. Wade, and more. Visit ironmicrophone.com. Arm yourself with information that will change minds as well as the future of our country. Order the DVDs now while they're free. Do it quickly because this offer is subject to change in 90 days. Visit ironmicrophone.com and click on the Store tab to order your free DVD today.
We will not be an easy target. We will never roll over and let pain plan our day, or let an ache tell us what we can and cannot do. We will not linger on the sofa, ask somebody else to bring us the mail, or take the parking space closest to the door. But what we will do is take action. We will plan ahead. We will protect our bodies and fight back by moving. Lace up our sneakers and grab our tennis rackets. We will bowl. We will do our morning laps and bike ride through Saturday afternoon. We will walk our dogs around the block. We will pass up the elevator and proudly take the stairs. Because arthritis can't beat us if we beat it first. In the fight against arthritis, you need a weapon. What's yours? To learn more, visit us at fightarthritispain.org. This message brought to you by the Arthritis Foundation and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the home of the Iron Microphone with your hosts, Dr. Lawrence Gelman and Rabbi Stephen Rosenberg.
Just how far will this government go to take away our liberties? This time it's religious freedom that's on the chopping block. The Obama administration healthcare plan effectively mandates that Catholic organizations provide coverage for abortion-inducing drugs, contraception, and sterilization. Is this about contraception or about religious liberty? Our guest is Dr. Bill Donahue, president of the Catholic League for Religious and Civil Rights. Bill is the author of 4 books and many articles. His latest book, Secular Sabotage, How Liberals Are Destroying Religion and Culture in America, was published by Faith Words. The Catholic League for Religious and Civil Rights is the nation's largest Catholic civil rights organization. We welcome its president, Dr. Bill Donahue. Doctor, welcome to our program.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me on.
And myself and Dr. Gelman are just very anxious to talk to you about this. The first question is, so I asked Dr. Gelman also this: has the Obama administration waged war against the Catholic Church and the First Amendment? And if so, where do you stand on it, and what are you going to do about it?
Well, there's no question. I think the war has been coming for some time. Give you a couple of quick examples here. A few months ago, the Catholic Church applied, as it always does, to get money from the federal government to fight human trafficking, women and children who were involved in these kind of contemporary examples of human slavery, and we always get the money to help them out. Now, this time, our proposal was ranked one of the top ones as usual, but we were denied. The Obama administration did not lie. They came right out and they told us why. You're pro-life. We don't give you money because you're pro-life. So I was just discussing this the other day with Lanny Davis, who's a very fair-minded liberal guy, and he was stunned when he heard about this. He said, I didn't know about this. I said, yeah. I said, Lanny, this thing is not even integral to the subject. Why are they blending these things in together? So there is that animus. Just here about a week ago, Broglio, Archbishop Broglio, who's the Archbishop of the Military Services, was ordered, they backed down, but they ordered him initially not to put out a letter indicating Catholic dissatisfaction with Obama on the health care plan. They wanted to censor him, a gag order. But because of Catholic protests,
we get all that. We get all that. We know what the other side is. Let's look at the Catholic Church. I know that the Catholic Church stands almost mute on these issues when it comes to preaching from the pulpit. You can go to any Catholic church in the United States every Sunday or Saturday evening, and you will rarely, if ever, hear anything concerning, let's say, abortion. My question, I mean, I know what the other side is. I don't need to hear what the other side is. What I want to know is, what about our side? Why is the Catholic Church mute when it comes to abortion?
Well, they have been, unfortunately, for too long, and I think that if you go back maybe 5, certainly 10 years ago, you may find too many bishops who were bureaucratic as opposed to being a bit more confrontational. As you well know, a lot of it has to do with leadership. Not only do we have a new crop of bishops, and this is where the Obama administration is clueless. They keep thinking of the bishops today as if it was true 5 or 10 years ago. Things change very quickly, even in the Catholic Church, which moves slowly. And now we have a guy at the top. I was with him yesterday, Archbishop Dolan, going to be cardinal next week. He's the head of the bishops' conference. He's a no-nonsense guy, PhD in church history. We are not going to accept a compromise. Everybody's talking about compromise. There's no compromise when it comes to the First Amendment on religious liberty. And I'm glad you mentioned abortion, because I'm sick and tired of hearing people say, well, it's about birth control. People think about birth control, they think of the pill. You can get the pill from Planned Parenthood. Nobody has a problem getting the pill. You can walk down the street in New York City and get all the condoms you want for free that the city of New York provides. This is really about abortion. And the reason I say that is that the nose of the camel is in the tent. That's why Obama is saying not only are we going to have the pill that we're mandating, we are including abortion-inducing drugs. The ultimate goal, obviously, is to require every health care plan in the country to provide for abortion coverage. That's exactly the issue. It's abortion, and it's the First Amendment right to religious liberty.
Why do the majority of Catholics vote for the pro-abortion party?
Well, it's very interesting how that's turned. They did vote as a Democratic almost in a block up until 1972 when the McGovernization of the Democratic Party took place. They bolted for lots of reasons. They've been somewhat homeless. In other words, Catholics can be persuaded to go pretty much either way, and generally speaking, whoever gets the Catholic vote tends to win the White House. Now, practicing Catholics, people don't know this. Practicing Catholics in 2008, Obama lost that vote by about 1%. It was pretty close. if you look at the aggregate, these Catholics who show up at Easter and on Christmas, and they call themselves Catholic, the Rosie O'Donnell type people, the Andrew Cuomo type people, the Nancy Pelosi type people, the Kennedy type people, I can go right down the list of them. These people are nominally Catholic in name. They show up in the polls as well. So I think that, listen, the last thing, I was on a show this morning. I'm just assuming that the poll is correct, fellas. I can't prove it to you, but I was on a Baltimore radio show this morning, and they say the latest poll came out, showed that Obama has dropped 15 points amongst Catholics. And once we get the word out to these people that it's about abortion and not the pill, and we understand the penalties to the Catholic hospitals, 625. The goal here is to threaten their very survival. Let me tell you something. That figure is going to go a lot below 15 points.
Well, let me ask you a question. We have a hospital over here. It's a non-sectarian hospital. We're not associated with any religious organization. We provide the insurances for all our employees. We're self-insured. Under the dictates of the mandate, we would have to provide for birth control and abortions, the pay for that. And furthermore, the way I see it, if not immediately, shortly thereafter, as a hospital, we will be required under Obamacare to provide abortions. So let's just say Barack Obama caves in and the Democrats cave into the Catholic Church, but they say everybody else who's not affiliated with a religious organization that condemns birth control in such a manner, they're still going to have to do it. What will the Catholic Church do then?
We'll be opposed to it, and we'll join with you and others. We've done this consistently. It doesn't. We know where this is going. I mean, we're opposed to same-sex marriage, so that doesn't just affect Catholics; it affects everybody. So we join these fights when we see that there's a generic issue here that really strikes at the heart and soul of our teachings. We get involved in all kinds of things like that. We will join with our Jewish friends, and by the way, the support amongst Jews, as well as Protestants and even Mormons that we're getting a lot of support from, is stunning. I'm very grateful. I was contacting some of my Jewish friends this morning because if we do go forward getting people in the streets, this is going to be interfaith, all right? And, listen, even if they give us, the latest thing, Fox News is reporting that, well, maybe what Obama will do, he'll grant a waiver. He'll grant a waiver. He's big into waivers. He'll give a waiver away. The problem with a waiver is that he still retains the power. So whoever gave this guy the right to say he's going to give me a waiver with my First Amendment right to religious liberty? He's already exempted, by the way. I hope people understand this. He's exempted the Christian Scientists, the Anabaptists, the Amish, and others. They don't have to go by the health care plan. So he's discriminating on the basis of religion as usual, and for some reason it always comes around to Catholics. We're the first one to get it in the face. We've had it with this. I'm trying to wake up the sleeping giant because, quite frankly, I told Schumer this here about a year ago. I get along with Schumer, but, not on the same side. I said, listen, we may be theologically Catholic at the Catholic League, but we are behaviorally Jewish. And what I meant by that, he kind of gave a double take. He started to laugh. I said, unlike so many Catholics who are passive and asleep at the wheel, Jews tend to be much more forceful in getting their voice heard in the public arena. There's historical good reasons for that, and I understand it. I want Catholics to mimic Jews as the model and finally get with it. The guy who founded the Catholic League, Father Virgil Bloom, in 1973, he died in 90. I never got a chance to meet him. He used to call Catholics eunuchs. And I think he is right. But I'll tell you what, my Jewish friends are contacting me now and say, Bill, what broke? I said, partly because we've had it with Obama, secondly because we know it's about abortion, and thirdly, the leadership of Archbishop Dolan at the top. I mean, Obama's hit a third rail. He's listening to these clueless Catholics, ex-Catholics, and others, the secular-minded people who are driving the administration, and he's walking into a minefield. And I'm telling you one thing, fellas, we're not letting up.
So I have a question. Why is it that we have not heard really strongly, we heard a little bit, but not a strong hue and cry from the Republican Party? From, we've heard probably more than anyone else, probably Santorum, but this is a major piece of the Republican platform. Where are they on this subject? Have you spoken with Romney or with Santorum or any of the other candidates running? And have you gotten support from Speaker of the House? Where are they on all this?
Boehner, I know, is close to Archbishop Dolan, and Boehner has been very forceful on this issue. I know some of these guys are running. I don't know them all. They've all asked to meet with me, and I've turned them all down. I do that for a reason. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I started as a Democrat and became a Republican, and I quit both because I have to be neutral. Now, you guys know where I am on the life issues. I'm not going to be a phony about it. But my feeling is that once the nominee is settled, I'll meet with him. But I don't like being used. I got to do a job here. I've had to take some shots in the past at Republicans and got them very angry on things. That's just too bad. I have to go where the action is here to fight anti-Catholicism. Now, in answer to your question directly, I've known Rick Santorum. He's been consistently good on this. Gingrich, he's new Catholic kid on the block, so to speak. He's voiced his concerns and that he's standing with us. Somebody just asked me on the radio here today, what about Romney? He kind of waffled on this issue and whatnot. He did, and that gave me pause. All I can tell you is this. Mary Ann Glendon shares an office with Alan Dershowitz, who I'm friends with, at Harvard Law School. Mary Ann Glendon tells me that, Bill, let me allay your fears. Romney's with us. Otherwise, I wouldn't be supporting him. Mary Ann Glendon is not just a Harvard law professor. She was the former United States ambassador to the Vatican under George W. Bush. So if Mary Ann has vetted Mitt and she says he's good on the issue, then he's good with me.
Well, I'm going to have to beg to differ on that. Mr. Plastic, Mr. Romney is at a minimum pro-choice, but and basically he goes with the wind. When he was in Massachusetts as governor, he forced everyone to. He had a mandate for everyone to, through their Obamacare system over there, to get free birth control devices. He is certainly not anti-abortion, and he's very, very weak. And to use him as to say that he has now come around to the correct way of thinking, I don't buy that. I'm sure you know the Republicans were in complete control of the government for 6 years under the fascist George Bush, and what was done about abortion, what was done about birth control, what was done about any of these issues? Absolutely nothing. The Republicans, and I think you kind of mentioned this before, that really you're not a Republican or a Democrat, and that the Catholics are, to some degree, homeless when it comes to these issues. And I think that is because that probably more Republicans than not are pro-choice than we would like to believe. But that, once again, that's the other side. I'm talking about our side. And what I want to know is what the Catholic Church is going to dictate to its priests as to what they should be saying from the pulpit from now until the next election. Because they have been
I can
mute.
answer that one very directly because it's already happened.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. A week ago Sunday, I'm in Long Island. Okay, I work in New York City. I'm right across the street from Penn Station and Macy's here in New York City. I go to church in Long Island, and usually priests are, they don't want to offend anybody, so you get these kind of pablum homilies. No more. What we found was that our pastor read from the pulpit a statement from the bishops about the necessity to stand up against what Obama is doing. Last Sunday in the parish bulletin, instead of just listing who got born and who's dying and who's going to get married and whatnot, we have statements again about who you can write to. I had a nun call me at home this week asking me to help out with the church petition. So, listen, this thing is changing very quickly. And even someone like myself who's been doing this job for 2 decades, I am a bit caught off guard in a happily sense that I'm seeing so many people to try and wake up this sleeping giant. I mean, this could be really amazing that it took Barack Obama's in-your-face assault on Catholics before we finally woke up. This could be a very good omen for the future.
Bill, as you know, the Archbishop of New York tends to be if there's a spokesperson for American Catholics, generally the Archbishop of New York now, Dolan, who will now be his cardinal designate, usually has that bully pulpit. And I saw him this morning on a talk show, and he was pretty forceful. Do you think he will come back? I know he's going to Rome soon to become a cardinal. When he comes back, do you think he will take the opportunity now as a newly minted cardinal to get up on the pulpit and say firmly and strongly that this will not stand?
First of all, he's already done it. Secondly, I was with him yesterday for a long meeting, and I'm waiting a phone call from him about a serious step that I want to take. I can just tell you that he made it very plain to me. I can't disclose everything, but I can tell you this much. There will be no compromise. So you're dealing with a guy who's very bright, very tough, Ph.D. in church history, knows his way around the block. He's not a bureaucrat. He's not one of the passive type people. He's the head of the bishops' conference. It's a 3-year term. Now, let me give you one quick example, because a lot of people, including Catholics, never mind non-Catholics, don't know how this thing works. Whoever was the vice president of the bishops' conference, it's automatic by tradition. He becomes the new president. Well, the person who was the vice president under Cardinal George was a liberal bishop. And guess what? They broke precedent because we have a strong crop of conservative bishops, and they voted to put in Dolan and broke tradition. This is a very good sign.
Bill, thank you so much for being on the program. I know you've got an important call coming up, and we want to thank you for taking your time this morning.
This was it.
This is it. This was the important call.
Thank you.
Dr. William Donahue, president of the Catholic League. We will continue in a moment right here on the Talk Line on the Talkback Radio Network, home of the Iron Microphone.
You are listening to the Talkback Radio Network.
This entire piece of music is played with only 2 instruments, a right hand and a left hand. Hands can do incredible things, but nothing compares to using them to help save a life with hands-only CPR. If an adult suddenly collapses, call 911, then push hard and fast in the center of their chest until help arrives. Hands-only CPR is recommended by the American Heart Association, and it's incredibly easy and effective. Find out more about this latest method of CPR at handsonlycpr.org. The power to help save a life is in your hands. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Dr. Lawrence Gelman is a South Texas-based physician and hospital administrator. His mission is to empower Americans with knowledge that will help change the direction of our country. Dr. Gelman has produced a series of DVDs with the facts on myriad political, social, and economic issues. At this time, he is so passionate about our country and the state of our government that he's declared a moratorium on any costs associated with his DVDs. He'll even pay the postage. Visit ironmicrophone.com and click on the store link. Choose from many outstanding DVDs, including The Hoax, Global Warming, A Convenient Lie, Holocaust, Pro-Choice, The Myth of Roe vs. Wade, and more. Visit ironmicrophone.com. Arm yourself with information that will change minds as well as the future of our country. Order the DVDs now while they're free. Do it quickly because this offer is subject to change in 90 days. Visit ironmicrophone.com and click on the Store tab to order your free DVD today.
You're listening to the Talkback Radio Network, home of the Iron Microphone, with your hosts, Dr. Lawrence Gelman and Rabbi Stephen Rosenberg.
Welcome back, and we thank you for listening to our first program. We had Dr. Bill Donahue on from the Catholic League, who gave us a pretty good perspective with respect to their stand with this Obama administration push to really nail or to make the First Amendment an issue with respect to abortion and the Catholic Church's stance on it. I want to give you our phone number if you'd like to talk to us about that, and if you have some strong views with respect to how the Obama administration is dealing with the Catholic Church. 1-800-962-1160, 1-800-962-1160. So you had said, Dr. Gelman, this is an abortion issue with respect to the church and the Obama administration, and
it's a power issue.
It's a power
It's
issue.
a power issue.
So for someone who is just hearing this, is trying to figure this out for themselves, is trying to figure out how can a president of the United States take the precedent of the First Amendment and try to dissect it. And with
I don't understand what the gist of this argument. The right of religious expression, freedom of speech, self-defense, right to life, is not conferred because of the First Amendment or Second Amendment. The First Amendment and Second Amendment are written because that right already exists, and that is simply to let the people know that it exists. So it's not like we received a right from the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights does nothing but repeat the rights which we have through natural means. So let's get off of that. Now, the fact of the matter is the entire pro-choice movement is based upon lies. The existence of the pro-choice movement is simply a power game for the government, which wishes to have control over life and death of the citizens. Nothing new there. The divine right of kings has always existed in the minds of politicians and exists very much today in the mind of Barack Obama, the power of life and death. So, towards the end of educating the listener, let's talk about the lies of the pro-choice movement. Let's look at all their false premises. What do we hear in the media? What do we hear them say? There is a constitutional right to privacy which allows abortion on demand. There is no right to privacy found anywhere in the Constitution. They say that the undelivered infant is part of the mother, and the mother has the right to choose what she can do with her own body. That is a lie. The undelivered infant is not part of the mother. It is an independent entity residing temporarily within the mother. The mother is born with all of her organs. An infant is not in the uterus at the time. The mother's blood supply does not interrelate with the infant's blood supply. Their blood types are different and distinct, and any kind of intermingling is a dangerous situation for both the mother and the infant. The infant has its own unique genetic makeup, completely separate from the mother. The infant responds to stimuli completely independently of the mother. Another false premise: prior to a certain post-gestational age, the undelivered infant is not human. Modern science has proven that all the necessary components creating human being are in place at the moment of conception. As we are human after delivery, we are just as human at any stage prior to delivery and after conception. Those of us alive today would not exist if terminated at any stage after conception. They say the undelivered infant can be sacrificed if a product of rape or incest. The infant conceived as a consequence of rape or incest is by definition innocent. Where society will not execute the perpetrator of rape, it now allows the execution of the completely innocent party. They say abortion is a woman's rights issue. Nonsense. Because of gender selection performed in many parts of the world, such as India and China, infants are aborted specifically because they are girls. The number of girls aborted in the world is much, much greater than that of boys. They say it is a human rights issue. However, in the United States, blacks and Hispanics are disproportionately targeted for birth control, fulfilling Planned Parenthood's founder, Margaret Sanger's eugenics-inspired policy of promoting racial superiority by reducing the populations of blacks, Hispanics, and Jews. They say the mother has the right to kill the unborn infant because the infant cannot survive without the sustenance provided by the mother during pregnancy. No infant could survive even after delivery without being provided sustenance by someone else. Does that give the mother the right to kill the infant after delivery? There are many elderly or disabled who could not survive if not provided sustenance by a caregiver. That does not give the caregiver the right to kill the person provided sustenance. They say the undelivered infant can be sacrificed if the pregnancy endangers the health or life of the mother. There, I am a physician, and I can assure you, there do not exist any health conditions whatsoever in the pregnant woman which require the intentional killing of the undelivered infant. An earlier than term delivery may be necessary, but the intentional killing of the infant is never, ever required. All the bases of the pro-choice movement are false, and therefore the Roe v. Wade decision permitting abortion on demand is also false. The Roe v. Wade decision states the undelivered infant is not a person, and thus not protected by the Due Process Clause of the Constitution found in the Fifth Amendment. Who among us would agree that the undelivered infant is not a person? The Roe v. Wade decision postures a false definition of abortion. The definition of abortion found in the Roe v. Wade decision states the termination of human pregnancy with an intention other than to produce a live birth. Abortion is the premature termination of any process. The abortion of pregnancy can be accomplished without the necessity of killing. It can be accomplished simply through the early delivery of a live infant, a process that goes on daily in this country under legitimate reasons. The Roe v. Wade decision is based completely on lies written by liars, because the pro-choice movement is based on lies supported by liars. We have an in-depth discussion on the lies of Roe v. Wade and the Holocaust that is the abortion movement in DVDs that we are sending to anyone who wishes to receive them. Remember, just because something is legal does not make it legitimate. In Nazi Germany, the law said that a Jew was not a citizen. The law said that a Jew could be put in a concentration camp and killed. The newsreels often show the Nazis parading with wild approval by the population. Is it any different here in our society? Those who believe in abortion and the pro-choice movement parade through wildly enthusiastic crowds. Margaret Sanger, who was a racist and eugenist, who showed Hitler and the Nazi Party what eugenics was. Margaret Sanger was an Aryan and a racist and believed in the superiority of one race or another even before the Nazi movement began. Margaret Sanger created the Birth Control League specifically to reduce the populations of those that she and her group felt to be inferior, primarily blacks, Hispanics, and Jews. Margaret Sanger changed the name of Birth Control League after World War I started because of our conflict with Nazi Germany, and she changed the name of Birth Control League to what we now call Planned Parenthood, an organization that disproportionately targets the pregnancies of black and Hispanic women.
1-800-962-1160, 1-800-962-1160. What do you think of these comments? I'd like to hear from you about and your thought about that, or about the Obama administration's attack on the Catholic Church. So is this, I want to get back to that for a second. Is this just chutzpah on their behalf, that they think they can tell the government? I've never heard this, and I don't know in my lifetime, the government telling a church what they can or cannot do.
Well, I assume you're talking about this country, because they certainly do that in many other countries.
I'm talking about this country.
Well, I don't know. Once again, and I'll repeat myself, it is a question of power. It is all it is. The Catholic Church represents competition to the power of the government. Therefore, the government wants to eliminate any sources of competition. What's the surprise there? Isn't that not what they do in Soviet Russia? Is that not what they do in Barbara Streisand's Cuba? Fidel Castro's Cuba. Isn't not what they say? Isn't not what they do in China to this day? So what is the surprise? What makes you think that Barack Obama or George Bush, for that matter, is any more of a decent person than Adolf Hitler or Stalin? They all believe in the power of government. The Catholic Church is an impediment to the power of the government, and therefore they want to destroy the Catholic Church. Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
The issue of pedophilia in the church, which roiled the nation for many years. Let me ask you, where is there far greater instances of pedophilia? In the Catholic Church or in the system of public education?
Interesting question. I would say, without being an expert on this, probably in public education.
There's not even a question. The amount of pedophilia in the system of public education is in the thousands, whereas in the Catholic Church at this stage is almost down to none. Now, the other thing is that the school system, of course, promotes pedophilia, whereas the Catholic Church does not. So it's a question of the institution itself. You can look on any given day, and you will see teachers molesting children, being removed from teaching positions. There's a big case right now in Los Angeles where you've had teachers molesting children, where hundreds of photographs are now coming out of children being sexually molested in one form or another by teachers, and nothing was said. And who defends pedophilia? The ACLU. What does the ACLU say about the Catholic Church? They are opposed to the Catholic Church because of the Catholic Church's stand on abortion and homosexuality. Well, my friends, the ACLU has defended pedophilia organizations such as the North American Man-Boy Love Association, and the ACLU has defended child pornographers. Yet the ACLU attacks the Catholic Church so does that not give you some insight as to what's going on here? Those who attack the Catholic Church because of a few instances of homosexuality, which the Church did not agree with, are they themselves pedophiles? The Hollywood crowd is rampant with pedophilia. And who is more against the Catholic Church than the Hollywood crowd? It is hypocrisy in its most ardent form. But I say that to give the truth to the lie. The attack on the Catholic Church had nothing to do with the minimal amount of pedophilia, with the Church condemned, by the way, and acted against. The attack against the Catholic Church is against the Catholic Church itself because of its stance on life and its stance on homosexuality.
Let's go to the phones. We welcome Mike from Long Island. Welcome to the program. You're on Talkback Radio.
Thank you, Rabbi, and thank you, Doctor, for taking my call. Just listening to your comments, and I'm a Roman Catholic, and I know you were asking the leader of the Catholic League, and why isn't the Church talking more about it, against it? You know, I grew up Catholic, and a lot of times I never heard anything like you were mentioning. I have never heard the Church really speak out about it when we used to go to Mass. And I think a lot of what happened was in the 60s, maybe you guys can attest to that, maybe you were around then, but it seems like our organizations, our government, our churches, the whole sexual revolution, there was a huge infiltration of communist ideology that came into America that really depleted the country's morality, and ideology of Christianity to a point where it decimated it to what we're seeing now, with abortion being legalized and homosexual rights coming out to bear now. So,
well, what is the purpose of government? The purpose of government is to enslave the people. And so that is nothing new. You talk about communist influence. Well, communism and fascism are essentially the same. And it's where the government is in complete control over the life of the citizen, including control over life and death. And so therefore, our government, as all governments, are going to be opposed to anything that gets in the way of the government being in complete control. That is them, and that was then. The question is, what about now? I, like you, go to Mass every Sunday. And in all the years that I have gone to Mass, I doubt if I had heard the word abortion mentioned even once per year. And I have gone to Mass in different churches, in different cities, and it is exactly the same. And I have confronted priests on this issue. And invariably I am told they don't want to alienate their parishioners.
But if this is one of the major pieces of the Catholic Church, one of their major teachings, and priests aren't, as someone who's, as a rabbi looking from the outside, I'd say if this is one of their major teachings, why don't they teach it? Why is this not something that, if this is a doctrine of the church, why don't they bring it to the people? What I don't get that.
Because the Catholic Church is no longer a religious and spiritual organization; it is a corporation. The bottom line and the profit. And I've heard, and that is why the churches are emptying. Up in the Northeast, I collect stained glass. And I collect stained glass from churches that can no longer function because they don't have the parishioners to keep going. And one church after another is closing, especially in the Northeast, which is the hotbed of abortion and liberalism, and fascism, by the way. And so the question is there anything left in the Catholic Church that resembles its founding based upon spiritual principles? And that is the real question, and that is the question that I have not heard answered to my satisfaction, because it seems to me that when I'm talking about the Catholic Church, it seems to be more of a corporation than it is an institution of spiritual awakening and leadership.
I thank you for that phone call. We are in our last couple minutes here before we have to say goodbye. I was curious, our final minutes, this I don't see the fervor of the candidates. I don't see the fervor of the Republican Party on this issue at all. This is a tailor-made issue.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not. Republicans are politicians. It's not a tailor-made. They couldn't, for the most part, could not care less. The only reason they're raising any voice now is because they see some political advantage to be derived. I have nothing but contempt for the Republican Party. The fact of the matter is that, as William Donahue said earlier, it's a sleeping giant. Who put the giant to sleep? The leadership of the Catholic Church. The leadership has a lot to answer to. And if the leadership of the Catholic Church would go back to its roots and foundings, they could overturn this entire government and stop abortion tomorrow if they so chose. We shall see what comes of all this. Thank you.
We'll see you next week. Until then, you take care. Rabbi Stephen Rosenberg, Dr. Lawrence Gelman on Talkback.